feel tensions rising, I hear voices in my head. They counsel me, they understand. They talk to me, they talk to me. They tell me things that I will do. They show me things I'll do to you. They talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. They talk to me, talk to me, talk to me.
What's up, YouTubers? This is HarpyHunter89 coming at you from the Duelist Den, and the voices in my head have told me it's time to debut my Graydle deck profile. Now, with the new Link mechanic coming out, I figured it was time to debut this deck. I've been working on this deck for a while, and it wasn't until the Graydle mechanic was released that I actually got some ideas on how to finish this deck. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Starting off our lineup, we of course have 3 Graydle Slime Juniors. What Graydle Slime Junior does is when it's normal summoned, you can target a Graydle monster in your graveyard and special summon it to the field, and then you can special summon a Graydle monster from your hand with the same level as the one that you summoned. Next up, we have our 3 Graydle Alligators, 3 Graydle Cobras, and 3 Graydle Eagles. Now, all of these have effects that are extremely similar. When they're destroyed by battle, you can target one monster your opponent controls, equip this card from your graveyard to that target, and then take control of that monster. In addition to that, if they are destroyed by a card effect, in Alligator's case it's a spell card, in Cobra's case it's a trap card, in Eagle's case it is a monster effect, then they get their effect activated as well from the graveyard, where you can take control of your opponent's monster by equipping it. Now, as you noticed, Eagle is monster effect, so it's yellow like monsters. Cobra is trap effect, so it's pink like the trap cards. And Alligator is spell card, so it's green. That's just a fun little fact that I love about this deck. So even a newbie can play this deck, and they don't even have to read, they just have to look at the colors. It's pretty cool. Next up, we have 2 Graydle Slimes. The reason there are only 2 Graydle Slimes is because Graydle Slime's effect can be activated from the graveyard as well. And what it does is you can destroy 2 Graydle cards you control, not just monsters, 2 Graydle cards, and special summon it. And when it's special summoned via this effect, you can target 1 Graydle monster in your graveyard and special summon that target in defense mode. So this allows you to go into your real quick level 8 synchro plays. Next up, we have 3 Santa Claus. Now, Santa Claus is just a personal tech choice of mine. A lot of people usually do a Kaiju engine or a lava golem engine. You know, something that lets you tribute your opponent's monsters. I personally am a big fan of the Santa Claus card. It's just my own personal preference. Now, what Santa Claus does is you tribute a monster your opponent controls, you special summon it to your opponent's side of the field in defense, and then during the end phase, you can draw 1 card. And just so you don't get confused, it's whoever controls the card gets the draw of the card, just so you know. So what I like to do is special summon this to my opponent's side of the field, and then take control of it so I get the draw. For the last monster, we have a Neo-Spacian Grand Mole. Now, once I get another copy of One Day Peace, Grand Mole will be coming out of this deck, but Grand Mole serves its purpose in this deck as well, especially if you're struggling a little bit, your opponent's got a boss monster you can't handle. Just put Grand Mole on the field, attack the boss monster, and return both to the hand. For the field destructions, we have 2 Dark Holes and a Regeki, and 1 Regeki. It's pretty basic right there. For draw power, we of course have our 3 Poly Dualities. Now, you might be asking what Poly Duality is doing in a deck that's based around synchro summoning and that requires a lot of synchro summoning. Well, yeah, it does do a lot of synchro summoning, but you don't need the synchro summoning, because if you pop off a couple of Graydle effects and just take control of your opponent's shit, then you can use Poly Duality and not miss your synchro summons. Then of course we have our Upstart Goblin. Next up, for spell recursion, for spells that do recursion, we have 3 Salvage. Now, what Salvage does is add 2 water monsters with an attack of 1500 or less each from your graveyard to your hand. Now, considering that all of the Graydles have less than 1500 attack, even Graydle Slime, which is level 5, then you can pretty much get any Graydle monster out of your graveyard back to your hand. And of course, we have Soul Charge. If you don't know what Soul Charge does, it's a pretty stable card. You special summon any number of monsters from your graveyard, but you lose 1,000 life points for each monster summoned, and you can't attack the turn you use this card. But if you special summon a bunch of Graydles, then just use their effects. It's not going to matter because you're going to take your bunch of your opponent's monsters anyway. Next up, we have Graydle Impact. What Graydle Impact does is you can target one Graydle card you control. Ideally, you want to target an alligator, and then one card your opponent controls and destroy them. And then during the end phase, you can add a Graydle card from your deck to your hand. The downside to this is you cannot use both of the effects in the same turn. You have to pick one. So you either destroy a card your opponent controls, or you can add a Graydle card from your deck to your hand during the end phase. Now, like I said, the reason you want to use or target your alligator with this to destroy your own alligator is because it's a spell, use alligator's effect. So you will sack alligator to destroy a spell or trap card set, for example, and then take control of one of their monsters. Next up, we have 2 copies of Water Hazard. What Water Hazard does is if you control no monsters, or once per turn if you control no monsters, you can special summon a level 4 or lower water monster from your hand. Now, with the exception of Graydle Slime, which you only run 2 copies of, all the Graydles in your deck are level 3s, or in Slime Jr.'s case, it's a level 2, so they all meet the requirements. Next up, we have Call of the Haunted. What Call of the Haunted does is you activate and special summon a monster from your graveyard to the field in attack position. Now, a little fun fact about this: if you activate this and get your Cobra out, and then destroy it yourself with an MST, or your opponent hits it with an MST or something similar to that, and it destroys, then the Cobra that you targeted with this is destroyed as well, and Cobra's effect activates. Pretty cool little fun fact there. And then for the last card in the main deck, we have Graydle Split. What Graydle Split does is you target a face-up monster you control, equip this card to it, and it gains 500 attack. And then, during your main phase, you can use this effect to send this card to the graveyard, then destroy the card this was equipped to, and then special summon 2 Graydle monsters from your deck with different names. Now, ideally, you want to hook this to your Graydle Cobra, because when Graydle Cobra is destroyed by trap effects, its effect activates. So you hook this to your Cobra, use this, destroy your Cobra, take control of one of your opponent's monsters, bring out a Graydle Slime or Graydle Slime Jr., and then a level 3, and then go into a synchro play. So you're getting 2 monsters for 1 off of this effect. For the extra deck, I only run 2 level 5 synchros. That is Tech Genesis Hyper Librarian and Ally of Justice Catastor. Librarian, just so I can get some draw power for synchro summoning, and Catastor is just in case I go up against somebody's run boss monsters I can't get over. As long as they're not a dark attribute, I can destroy them with Catastor's effect. And of course, we run 1 Stardust Dragon. Pretty simple. If card effect will be activated, that would destroy cards on the field, sack Stardust, negate the effect, and during the end phase, you can bring Stardust back. Next up, we have, of course, our 2 Graydle Dragons. What Graydle Dragon does is, when it's synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of water monsters used for the synchro summon and destroy them. And then if this card is destroyed, either by battle or card effect, you can target 1 water monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but its effects are negated, and you only use the effect of Graydle Dragon once per turn. Now, this sets up kind of a loop, because say it's your turn, you have 1 on the field, 1 in your graveyard, for say, they destroy this one, you get that one back, they can't get over it. Next turn, they attack over that, you get that one back. Now, you can't just keep continuously doing this in the same turn. I think Konami put the once per turn thing on there to prevent a loop like that, which really freaking sucks, because that would be a fun little loop for Graydles. But it is still possible, it's just a slower loop. Next up, we have Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, what Hot Red Dragon Archfiend does is once per turn during your main phase 1, you can destroy all other face-up attack position monsters on the field, and monsters other than this card cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. So this works real great. So say you've got a eagle on the field, and your opponent's got a bunch of monsters in attack, and maybe 1 or 2 in defense, Use this effect, destroy all your opponent's attack position monsters, and you can use Eagle's effect to take control of one of their defense position monsters, so you can kind of clear the field a little bit more. Plus, even if you don't get off one of your Eagle's effect or something, you're clearing your opponent's field, and that's 3k beat stick right to the face. Next up, we have Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, what this card does is you can destroy all special summon monsters on the field with attack equal to or less than Scarlight's other than itself. And then your opponent takes 500 damage for each card destroyed by that effect. Next up, we have Red Nova Dragon. Red Nova Dragon can be made easily with the getting 2 Graydle Slimes out on the field, or Slime Juniors on the field, and so you can get this out pretty easily. Now, what Red Nova does is it gains 500 attack for each tuner monster in your graveyard. Granted, at most that's only going to be 5 tuners, so it's a 2,500 attack boost, but that's still a 6,000 beater going right at your opponent's face. Furthermore, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and if your opponent declares an attack, you can banish this card to negate the attack, and then during the end phase you can bring it right back to your field. Then, this guy is one of the new recruits to this deck that went through with my upgraded modifications. It is Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. Now, this card, it does require 2 tuners and a non-tuner Dark Dragon type Synchro monster, so you can use either your Scarlights or your Hot Red Dragon Archfiend to bring it out. Now, just so you can read this card's effect, I'm not sure if you can see it very well there, but it says that when Synchro Summon, you can activate this effect for the rest of his turn. Your opponent cannot activate cards. Also, cards your opponent controls cannot activate their effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. And if this card destroys a monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. And if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card by battle or card effect, you can target 1 level 8 or lower Dark Dragon type Synchro monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So this just does a whole bunch of crazy shit. So, and it's real easy to get out in this deck. It's a lot easier to get this out than I initially thought it would be. Alright, now for the Xyz monsters. We run nothing but rank 3 Xyz in this. We've got number 49 Fortune Tune. Now what Fortune Tune does is allows you to gain life points each turn. And if it's destroyed, you can target 2, count it, 2 level 3 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and then this gets returned to the extra deck. So this can't ever truly die, because you can just keep bringing it back out and then regurgitating your level 3s that are in your graveyard. Next up, we have number 17, Leviathan Dragon. What this does is you detach a material, it gains 500. Downside is if it has no material attached to it, it cannot attack your opponent directly. And of course, we've got Zen Mains. It's a pretty staple card, so I'm not really going to go over the effect. Next up, we've also got number 47, Nightmare Shark. What this card does, you detach a material, select a water monster you control, and attack your opponent directly, but other monsters can't attack the turn you use this. So if you got this and like a Graydle Dragon on the field, you're getting direct attacks off with that Graydle Dragon. And of course, we've got our number 30, Acid Golem Destruction, which is just a big ol' rank 3 beat stick. For the side deck, we have 3 Forbidden Scripture. And what Scripture does is, if a monster battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, negate all other card effects on the field until the end of the damage step. Also, damage calculation uses the original attack and defense. So this pretty much stops cards like Storming Mirror Forces and shit like that. And of course, you gotta have your little bit of back row hate, and in this deck, it's in the form of MST. Now, say your opponent's doing a bunch of searching and you just don't want them to have a certain card in their hand, you can just drop a quick Mind Crush on them. Next up, we have our 1 Ring of Destruction. It's a pretty staple card. Ring of Destruction lets you destroy your opponent's monster and then deal damage to both players. Now, one thing this deck does have a problem with is Dark Law and other banishing effects. So, naturally, you have to run your 3 Imperial Iron Walls just to get around things like Dark Law, because if your monsters are banished, not only can you not regurgitate them with like Salvage or something, but their effects also are not going to activate because they will never hit the graveyard. Next up, we have Skill Drain. Skill Drain works really great in this deck because the Graydle monsters' effects activate in the graveyard, at least the 3 main ones, Cobra, Alligator, and Eagle. So this is really great because you can still negate your opponent's card effects and still get your level 3 Graydle effects off. And of course, you got Vanity's Emptiness. Now, in a deck that's based mostly around Synchro Summoning, Vanities might not be a great idea, especially so in Graydles because you want your Graydles to hit the graveyard to use their effects. But this is just for like, you know, a quick 1 turn to stop your opponent type thing. But anyway, that is my Graydle deck. I hope you guys enjoy me doing a profile over a deck that isn't pretty much just, you know, an updated profile, having something new on here finally. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends and family and everybody you know about this channel. Like I said, said in a previous video, I'm trying to get up to 500 subscribers by the end of this year, and I do everything I can, but I could use your guys' help for that. But until next time, this is Harpy 89 and the voices in my head signing off.
Take a shot